Okay, so moving forward in this example now, what we're going to do is acquire a photograph to use in our images. Which I'll use the full quality one for now, although essentially we would probably prefer it to be slightly more compressed in the end, so we can maybe do that in Photoshop. In fact, I'll run through that in Photoshop now quickly. It'll only take a minute or two to do that, and then we'll import it into Flash and we'll use it as a masking image, which will require us to have another set of clips. Actually no, we'll do it without at the moment, but maybe in the long run we probably want two sets of clips. So I'm going to open the image, which will be in my downloads. So recent places, downloads there. Probably in this one. There we go. So I'll open that image. Check the image size in there. Image and image size. So in pixels it's 3264 by 2448, which is a lot bigger than our movie size to start off with, which is 1600 wide, 1200. So even that would be do that quite a bit bigger. So let's go with 800, 600. That should be big enough. And click OK. Zoom that into 100%. So that'd be more than big enough for our needs at this point in time. And then what I'll do is I'll save for web to show you the optimization. So save for web, optimize with PNG 24, saves that out at a 679 kilobyte file roughly, with 2 up or even 4 up, and then with the JPEG of medium quality, to be honest, really I'd take that up a little bit higher to maybe 60. Is only 100k. All we have to be mindful of is save that as a JPEG, and I'll put that into my downloads as plain compressed. Save that there. What we have to be mindful of is, I'm not going to save any changes to the original image. When we publish in Flash, I'm just going to put that to the library to start off with. The JPEG settings are equivalent to that, otherwise it will compress it even further. So here comes the dialog. I'll just find the image, which is plain compressed. Open. It imports it to the library, which we can reuse then. Okay. And then what we will do is use each movie clip to mask to start off with. So all of these red clips I'm now going to change to have no tint to start off with. I will be tinting the originals on the left hand side eventually. So when we double click on one of our examples, and I'll also be putting the outline in there too, what we want to do is separate the inner, well, to use the inner as a mask. So we need to duplicate it basically. So I'm going to copy that by selecting just the fill, copy, new layer, and paste that in. Paste in place. and then underneath that layer, because I've got them all in position at the moment, I can actually do this way around. I'll have the image. So I'll then bring the image from the library onto the stage, which shouldn't have too much of an issue being reused. I'll notice it's a little bit smaller than what I need it to be. So I'm just going to resize that so that it's bigger than. And then try and position it so that as much of information is in there. I suppose it's kind of irrelevant really for an example. Then I right click on layer 2, which is where I put that's fill. Tell it to mask. Actually, before I do that, I will be copying that clip just to make sure that in the next movie clip it will be the same scale. So I copied the image, right click layer 2, tell it to mask it, and then it just disappears. I'll go back to scene 1, double click on this and paste in place. And I'm just going to make sure actually that I've copied this. I'm going to have to run through each movie clip, create the layers that I need, right click and paste, then align it. Now it will snap to the top edge, but it won't snap to the top corner. Basically what I'm trying to do is make it line up with the image in the first clip so that the jigsaw puzzle pieces roughly match up. You've also got the reference point here on the left hand side, which is quite useful also in this case. And then I will go through each piece with a new layer to paste that and line it up. As best we can before we run through and mask them all. And this is just so that we can ensure the scale is the same, to be honest. There we go. And again, this time it may not snap to the top edge because it will be relative to the movie clips that we're editing. But thankfully it's actually aligning to the top edge anyway. Start off with, so all we've got to worry about is this green guide here. And if we were to put a guide in on that line, it should actually snap for us inside of the movie clips too, hopefully. Not, that will at least make life a bit easier. Let's just double check on that one. It's actually that edge there we want, isn't it? Okay, we're back on track there. Everything seems to line up. Okay. Paste that in, move it across, make sure it lines up very much exactly, and then down to the bottom edge. What you might notice is that we're not being able to select any of the mover clips that we've just filled currently. And that's because we're covering them up with these images so they're actually getting bigger. It'll be fine because we'll go through the library to access them and make the masks. Okay, just 2 more to go. It's roughly working. And then the last one, you paste, and then oops, a little bit out of line there. It's pretty much exactly where we want it. Back to scene 1. Okay, so we can't actually select the clips unless we go into the library now. I'll double click on P1, notice that one's masked. If I turn the mask on, that is. P2, I'll then have to add the mask, so I need to select the object that's on layer 1 and then paste it on layer 3, paste in place in fact, which is Ctrl Shift and V, or right click paste in place, then the mask, and into P3, where I need to create the layer. Select layer 1, copy it, and then paste in place over the top to set the mask. So it's a laborious process, but it's only really going to take maybe 10 minutes to do the whole thing when you're working quickly. So Control C, Control Shift V is the quickest way to get this working actually. P5, again, copy that. Control Shift V, so it's remembering to put the piece on the layer above so that it's masking the image. Actually, let's just undo that, because I've put somehow layer 3 underneath the image layer, layer 2. There we go, mask. 6. So make sure you get your layer orders correct first, otherwise the mask won't work. Your mask layer always needs to go above the image. You've probably noticed by now with that. Control C, Control Shift V, remember. Click mask. Just 3 more to go. It's important to work methodically through this, really. Let's just cut that. Luckily the image has fallen over the top of the jigsaw piece. We haven't lost anything there, which is really useful. That could have been a real problem. P12. That into layer 3, and then mask, and that should, if we go to scene 1, I've then broken it up into little pieces that match. So now we've got 2 images side by side. I'll just test it over the top, try and move a piece, and then it's gone in place. We can tell by that little dot actually. So what I want to do now, as we build up, is to set these instances, if I highlight them all together, to be preferably, I think I've got something else picked up there as well. Ah, yes, we've got the outlines. If I lock the outlines there, I should be able to pick up the clips and change the tint to be a different colour. So for instance, a grey, then take the tint right up. So that's all we've got are the shapes. Obviously, if you leave a transparent or roughly transparent image, it does make the jigsaw a little bit easier. So it depends on level really. Now what I'm going to do is going to run through all of the clips with the ink bottle tool. In fact, I'll do that through the library again. I forgot to do it last time. Select layer 1. I'll just go back to the scene one, check that that's worked. Oh yeah, it has worked. We just can't see it at this point in time. Ink bottle tool. There we go. I'll just go through all of them. So they're starting to look a little bit more organised. So it's dipping it into the timeline and then back out. It's quite quick work because what I'm doing is I'm using the selection tool to go into the timeline, the ink bottle tool to then add the stroke, and double clicking on the stage to get back out of that timeline. The long-winded way is to double click on the movie clip, choose the ink bottle, then go back to scene 1 using that method, which you can do like this, but then we still can't go into the movie clip without the selection tool. So the double click on stage is usually quite useful. And the shortcut for the selection tool is actually the V key, which might even speed it up a little bit more for you. So the next thing to do is to jumble these pieces up. So I think what I'll do is I'll take a random selection from different layers using the shift select and just drag them down, but try and keep them in line to start off with, and then move some others into place. I'm probably going to need a little bit more space on this stage, so I'm going to make the stage a little bit wider again. 1600 by 900. Oh, that's the height. So actually we'll go with 1920, which is the full width of a 1080 screen now, but not the full height. I might not even need that much, to be honest, because we'll be able to distribute widths. Just jumble them up so that they're spaced out. Just to get a rough approximation. There we go. I think what I'll do is I'll take the bottom ones by highlighting them, like so, using the align tool, align panel here, and I'll align their bottom edge first, so they all align up, and then try and distribute the widths. And that's a bit too far. I've aligned it to stage, and actually what I want to do is unline and do that again, so they've just got a rough difference. Maybe even. No, space even horizontally, that's what I want to do. They still overlap at the moment, but we can live with that. Okay, so let's just test it again to make sure the pieces go in place. So we've got as the first piece because it's got a little dot in the middle of it. There we go, second piece, something like that, and we've got more in the top, and the end piece, which is obviously that one because it doesn't have a corner piece. So you see it's starting to come together, it's working. We've got a bottom corner there, the wing comes over the top of that, and it's in there, the body, and the front engine, the wheel down there. Like that. And there we go. It works to all intents and purposes. And the only other thing we would add to that is repositioning the pieces if they weren't in the right place. I can address that in a later video.